Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Wednesday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. The Lakers are widely expected to sign one more center. Which one should they choose? We'll tell you next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcasts. It's always free. It's never going to be behind a paywall. And Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with. We're pushing 20,000 people. We're getting real close to our subscribers to this channel. Really excited. Tons of activity on the YouTube channel over the course of the weekend as free agency kicked off on Friday, now through the holiday. Hope everyone had a great 4th of July holiday. I do want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. So those people watching on the YouTube channel can see the agenda for today. We mentioned it in the open. We're going to talk about centers. The Lakers played their first Summer League game on Monday and have another one, I believe, today. I forget exactly what time it is, but the second game of the California Classic is today, so we'll have more reaction to that. And then it's really interesting, Andy. The Lakers, Damian Lillard's on the trading block, James Harden's on the trading block. Big dramatic situations that have nothing to do with the Lakers, which is the exception to the rule. You had a good 4th of July, and that's because you got a real feel, Andy, for how different free agency works now than a few years ago, because routinely the 4th of July was ruined by free agent signings. Things happen so much faster now that by the time, 2-3 days into this thing, most of the big stuff is already taken care of.
Yeah, I can recall many a 4th of July where I showed up to whatever event I was attending, and the entire time I was there, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, am I going to have to leave to write up something? Am I going to have to take some type of phone call, do some type of radio hit, do some type of whatever, because something is going to break, especially when it's the Lakers, it's always big news. But like you said, it's starting to wind down across the NBA. But for the Lakers in particular, they got pretty much everything done in 48 hours, to which I say,
yes.
Thank you, Rob Pelinka.
Most egregious, by the way, the most egregious violation of our holidays came in 2012 with the acquisition of Steve Nash, but it didn't even work out. Like that stupid Sports Illustrated cover and everything, none of it was worth it. They ruined our holiday, and it wasn't worth it. The one thing though that's left on the agenda, most people believe that the Lakers will take the 14th roster spot. They can technically sign 2 more people, but it is pretty widely expected that they'll leave that 15th spot open and go out and get a center. So I have 2 questions. The first one is, do you think that they have to sign a center? If there's a better player available, on a wing or in the backcourt, a guy that might be a little bit better than who you can bring in, I still think you have to sign another big. But I guess it's an assumption that I didn't want to make on your behalf. Like, would you go center or best available, to use the draft terminology?
The best available guy better be a tier above or tier or 2 above the best remaining center. Otherwise, you have to bring in some size. Like, even if it's somebody that would be an undersized 5, but is a legit 4, like they need more size on this roster. I think they've gotten bigger with playable guys compared to the roster that ended the playoffs last year. But I still they need one more guy who is 6'8" or taller.
Right. That replacement of Prince in the rotation for either Walker or Beasley is, shifts
or Brown.
Right.
However you're thinking about this, Taurean Prince is more of a legitimate 4 option than any of those guys.
Right. So I agree. I don't think there's any question And especially when you start to look at even the, guy, Grant Williams is out there. Great. Lakers can't get him. Like there's, some of these potentially useful players, although, he might qualify for what you're talking about. But like there's, there are players who are still unsigned, but the Lakers don't have access to most of them. So with that in mind, we thought it would be kind of fun to take a look at who some of these players are. Like when the Lakers are looking at this last spot, who the best available center / large power forward might be to fill out this roster. Where do you look? Who are the best names out there? Which names make the most sense? Because it's not necessarily purely about talent, at least in my mind. So we've both been looking at lists. They're a little sad.
I was going to say, you mentioned it would be fun to do this. Unless you're some type of sicko, frankly, I don't think this is going to be fun at all. I think
fun might have been the wrong word. We're coming off a holiday, Andy. I'm feeling good. I'm happy. It's like had a day off work. Monday was even a pretty light day. Like, nobody's doing much. It was, but you're right. Fun is
No, it's going to make a lot of people not be able to tell, am I feeling this way because of the list or the July 4th hangover? Mm-hmm. But, there are a few names out there, to be clear. There are a few names out there that I think are serviceable or maybe even intriguing, but a lot of the list is not inspiring.
One does not get excited by them.
We could begin with some familiar faces, Brian. You could bring back Wenyen Gabriel, who I would not be opposed to doing that. I don't know if he's necessarily the best option out there, but I know he is somebody that will fill a role. He plays it energetically. He plays it smartly. He knows how to work with these guys. The things that Wenyen does, I think, well, he often can do very effectively. The stuff that is lacking, I don't think is ever going to happen. But I think you maybe could do better than Wenyen, but I think you could also do worse.
I think the things that I think about that are perfect about Gabriel, if you're going to go in that direction, is I think we talked about this on Monday's show with Jaxson Hayes as your current backup center. I think the kind of the balance that you need from that is a guy who is predictable. You need to know what you are getting more or less with the player that you bring in to accompany Hayes, because the problem with Hayes isn't that he doesn't have upside. It's that he might not pan out because he hasn't in 4 years in New Orleans, but also just night to night, you don't know what you're going to get. So for 20 games that you need him, when Anthony Davis is probably out, you want as a coach some predictability. And the Lakers certainly know exactly how to use Wenyen Gabriel at his most effective, And so in that sense, I don't mind it at all. Like I think they can do better, and I would like to get them to get somebody a little bit bigger.
But they could do worse.
Because at the least, Darvin Ham and the coaching staff can look at Wenyen Gabriel, put him on the floor at any time. It doesn't matter. Wenyen could sit for 9 games in a row, put him on the game for the 10th one, and he's going to play exactly like Wenyen Gabriel always does. And so he's not my first choice. But if that's where it ends up, I think they could do worse. I agree with you.
Other familiar faces include 2020 sort of secret weapon.
Dwight Howard.
No.
Okay.
No. Dwight. I'm just going to cut to the chase. Dwight is not on my list. Right. Dwight Howard is not an option.
No.
Markieff Morris.
Memory serves. I don't have the numbers in front of me. Did not coming off a great year.
No, and actually wasn't great his second year with the Lakers. Again, I will say the roster is a bit set up more now, like his first stint with the Lakers when he came in as a buyout guy, and actually I thought played pretty well, particularly in the playoffs. I wouldn't be wild about it.
Not excited. Not excited.
Montrezl Harrell? No, not an option. And then Tristan Thompson. Acknowledging he had a surprisingly good stint in that last game in the series against the Nuggets, little under 10 minutes, but pretty productive. It was the ultimate small sample size because forget just the time he played with the Lakers. He played less than 900 minutes in the 2021-22 season, which for those who can't do the math off the top of their head, 900 minutes ain't a lot over the course of a season.
It's not.
he would be great in the locker room if the backup to AD was somebody more proven than Hayes.
Proven, not playable. Playable is the wrong word. Proven is the right word.
More proven. Then I actually think, I wouldn't be wild.
I can't. No. I mean, I want that to be a good idea, and I feel like But I mean, I will say this: the one thing. I mean, people are forgetting. Like Dwight is, I yelled at Dwight for fun. Dwight's 37 years old and can't even, there's his Taiwanese team is getting him on him for not playing at a high enough level right now. Tristan Thompson is only 32. So, and turned 32 in March. So he's like a young 32. So he's not as old as you think. So the idea that he, from an age standpoint, is automatically washed up, isn't necessarily true, but I would have need to see a little, if you could tell me he could be like a replacement level guy, I'd say sign him up instantly. But I think that actually might be a stretch. Tell me about these new names. So I'm very excited about the new ones. Let's do that next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel, and it is time to take your first swing at betting MLB on FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet in bonus bets up to $200. That's right. Just bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets. And you can bet everything from the money line to the over-under to who you think is going to hit the first run in a game. And if you're looking ahead, FanDuel has odds on the MVP, the Cy Young, the World Series winner, and for Laker fans who also love the blue, Mookie Betts, Clayton Kershaw, and the Dodgers are respectively among the leaders in those categories. It's all on an app that's safe, secure, super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. There is no better place to bet on MLB than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So sign up today. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get that $200 up to it in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, the official partner of Major League Baseball.
All right, we'll get to the summer league here in a few minutes, but this is, I think, actually a little bit of a more pressing issue for the Lakers. New faces, Andy, that the Lakers might want to look at in that 14th roster spot to serve as a potential backup center.
This is a list that will include both power forwards and centers, guys who've been used as both. Christian Wood, he is
this one fascinates me.
He is awful defensively. There is no way to sugarcoat this. And there has to be a red flag of some type when a guy with his scoring talents can't get any team he's played for to invest in him. They all say thanks, but no thanks. But at a veteran's minimum, which is the only way the Lakers could get him, I'd argue he's too good to pass up.
The thing about this is predictability. And some of the predictability with Christian Wood is really bad. But you can plan for it. Then here's the thing. When Anthony Davis, there is one name on the list, and I'm sure he's on the list that you'll get to him, where this does not hold true. But broadly, when Anthony Davis isn't available for the Lakers or isn't in the game, the Lakers' rim protection is going to get shoddy. By the way, if people can hear it, it's 4th of July in Los Angeles. The fireworks are starting in my neighborhood. So I think there's something to be said for, let's just YOLO lean into this, where Wood, we're just, when the game's AD misses, Wood is going to be in the middle there, and we're just going to have to plan for it and score a ton of points. But he can help us with that.
Well, you know what he'd be? He'd be Thomas Bryant in that situation. He is Thomas Bryant.
Thomas Bryant's probably a better defender than Christian Wood.
He is, but he's not good. He's
not good, but he's better, and he's not the offensive player that Wood is either. And the other argument to this is that Wood with Anthony Davis provides the Lakers with an element that they really haven't had in a little while in terms of he's a very talented offensive player and a good shooter, mid-range. The offensive options that you could have, if you could get him at a minimum, I think and he's just sitting around right now waiting for somebody to offer more than that. I think you'd have to do it. I think you'd have to do it. He's somebody who's my first choice that's above him, but I think you'd have to do it.
I just realized too that I had left out one familiar face, Bamba. still out there.
I thought you were putting him in a different category.
No. I just had him misplaced on my list. He is still linked to the Lakers.
Misplaced.
And womp womp. I did not realize this, but the great Eric Pincus, cap expert, pointed this out on Twitter, and this is really interesting. Even though the Lakers didn't guarantee Mo Bamba's last contract, and that's why he's a free agent, if they brought him back, they would still have his early bird rights, which I was not aware of. But
no, but that could be useful because most of these guys that you sign to minimum deals, if they play well, you can't keep them.
Right.
No avenue to keep them.
That's interesting. I mean, look, Bamba did not play once the Lakers acquired him. He was hurt most of that time, and there simply wasn't enough time to try to integrate him. Not while the Lakers were scrambling to make sure they, at minimum, made the play in. He's been really inconsistent over the course of his career. There are some skills there. He would be in my I'm interested column.
I would be fine with that. I think what you're talking about with Bamba is a slightly more souped up version in terms of like the predictability, reliability of Hayes. He's got a better track record than Hayes in the NBA, and I think you have a better idea of what you're getting. And at the very least, if you have two of those guys, you can kind of hope one of them hits. And I think Bamba actually is a guy that they are waiting on. There's no rush, by the way, to any of this. All these guys, the Lakers can only offer a minimum. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows the role the Lakers can give, which is actually a pretty good one, potentially, for one of these guys trying to reestablish value. And if it ends up Bamba, I think that would be a conclusion that I would be cool with. But I also think, more importantly, the Lakers would be cool with. And so I think from an odds standpoint, that is one of the higher ones. It just remains to be seen. Would somebody give Bamba $3 million a year? Would they give him part of their little mid-level? I don't know, whoever's got that left, or a full mini mid-level, whatever it might be. Bamba's really high on my list of guys they could go with.
Next on my list, Bismack Biyombo. Compared to some of the guys I'm going to list off later, you could do worse than Biyombo. Good defensive presence, plays hard, will rebound, can't do anything offensively but dunk. I mean, not a damn thing.
Literally nothing else.
But if you give him the ball around the rim, assuming he catches it, he can throw it down. And again, he's experienced, he's predictable.
An argument can be made for him as your top choice. And I will make it. Here's my argument for that, because I've been thinking about this. I don't think he's the best player. There are guys who are more dynamic. But you get a really critical piece that the Lakers could be missing in the games when Anthony Davis is out, which are going to happen. Like this is going to happen. You have to plan for it. Bismack Biyombo is an elite shot blocker. An elite rim protector. He, like you say, he's not good at anything else. He's not. He's not even necessarily an elite rebounder.
No, he's fine.
He's fine. But he's one really good skill that the Lakers don't have a lot of outside of AD. And then I think from the times when you play them together, there will be situations where you need to figure out the spacing and figure all these things out, and it could get weird and wonky or whatever. But there could be moments when the ability to put Biyombo next to a basket and let Anthony Davis kind of roam the weak side has appeal. So as limited of a player as he has one skill that is so bankable that I think you can argue that he actually could be your best option there.
Again, he's in bold on my list. Dario Saric.
Not going to give you any defense. Love what he would give you offensively.
Yeah,
and, I would have no problem with that. I actually think he's going to get a little bit more than that from someone else.
He may very well, but for the time
played
being,
pretty well with Oklahoma City last year.
But for the time being, he is on the open market. I don't think
the other problem with Saric is he gets hurt a lot.
Yes, he does. All the rest of these names, Brian, are not in bold. I'm going to rattle them off. You tell me if you disagree with me that they should be in bold. Willy Hernangomez.
Yeah, Willy Hernangomez is on my list of like, okay, like we were sort of waiting for that one to break out for a while. And
he rebounds well. That's about it.
He's not a terrible scorer. He's actually, I think he's a pretty good free throw shooter. But he's just this for a guy who seems awfully skilled. Hernangomez has just never been able to really consistently break into a rotation. When he plays, he tends to put up decent numbers, as a rebounder, as a scorer, and all that. He's not a bad fantasy player, like when he gets minutes, but I am suspicious of people who've been around and just can't establish any kind of value. He wouldn't be the worst. I wouldn't be my first.
He's at the top of my not in bold list, so there you have it. Serge Ibaka.
Nah,
nope.
I feel that feels washed.
Oh, I actually have next to him parentheses washed.
Yeah, I mean,
Dwayne.
Due respect to
yes.
Serge Ibaka, who's had a phenomenal career, but
Dwayne Dedman.
No, same problem.
Been on 7 teams in 8 seasons. There's likely a reason. Boban.
Yes,
no,
absolutely.
No. Boban is a fun concept. He's not really a useful player.
But I know, but I'm willing to make an exception.
No. You can't express all this worry about Jaxson Hayes.
And then say, okay,
right.
That's fair. Some intellectual consistency is warranted. I understand.
Right. Nerlens Noel, who shockingly not 30.
Sure.
He's not 30.
I mean, I got the same problems with availability, injury, whatever, but you know what you're getting.
I guess I'd be disappointed if that's the guy brought in. I get it. I wouldn't say the Lakers did a bad job.
Not first on the list, but he does satisfy my you know what you're getting criteria.
I guess.
I mean, what you're getting isn't very good necessarily.
Omer Yurtseven.
Is he a free agent?
I believe.
I thought Miami had held on to him.
Maybe I'm wrong. I thought he's a free agent.
He could be. I mean, it's a little speculative.
My answer is no either way.
Yurtseven had some really good games with Miami last year.
I think he's too inexperienced. You can't worry about Hayes' inexperience and then bring him
exactly.
in.
I think
again, assuming he's even available.
Yeah,
Taj Gibson.
No, I mean I'm retracting my Nerlens Noel. I'm not doing that.
No,
Not until all those other guys are gone. I think that was fairly clear, but it's like no, I recant.
Trendon Watford, no.
Undersized, not a very good defender. I mean, he's not a terrible player. If I needed another power forward, okay, but
then Frank Kaminsky, Myers Leonard. I mean, like, no. So again, like it's not that there are no good options out there, but Laker fans should be prepared for the idea of whoever they bring in, unless it's somebody way off the board, like from overseas or whatever, just temper your expectations because whoever it is, they're going to be flawed in multiple ways. Hopefully just their flaws can be offset by, as you've emphasized a lot, and I think it's true, predictability in some ways. A
certain strength. I mean, again, that's why I like Biyombo. He's good. He's elite at one thing, and you know what you get. But we'll see. I mean, there are some of those names I think could fit the bill, and it is important. It's not just when Anthony Davis is gone, although that's really, really important consideration. You do want somebody who could play next to him as well, and that's why the Wood thing is really intriguing because what that could look like. All right, let's do a quick recap of Monday's Summer League game. Some of the stuff that came up. A little quick reaction: Max Christie, Jalen Hood-Schifino, Cole Swider, got a lot of shots up in that game. So that's next. So, Andy, with Summer League games, you and I have both been around long enough to understand that the final score is not necessarily that important, although the Lakers are defending their California Classic Championship, and let's not poo-poo that. And box scores aren't even necessarily the most important thing. Players are working on all kinds of things, are given directives to do all kinds of things over the course of these games. But there are certain things that you do want to see. And one of them is the performance of second-year players. You want guys who are in the league for the second season to look like they are better than the other guys that they are playing against. And that was the criteria that you would put up for Max Christie in Monday's Summer League opener. How do you think he did?
I thought he looked really good. He looked really confident while he was out there. He was often taking charge of the team, like starting sets. He'd be calling his own number, looking to set up other guys. He finished with 17, 6, and 4, plus a steal. He was 6-11 from the field, 4-4 from the line. He had a couple baskets finishing in traffic, a really good steal on a backdoor pass to Jaquez. There was a great sequence
Jaquez
with
looked awesome, by the way.
Yes, he did. Jaquez looked quite good.
But he's also he's 22 or 23. He's an
22
older
or 20.
rookie.
Yeah, and he's he's a lottery or a first round pick. He should be good, but he did look good. There was a great play where he had a defensive rebound, and then he threw like a 3/4 length pass to hit Castleton in transition for a layup. He also, and this was something that Kobe Price noted in his write-up for the OC Register, Christie put on about 10 to 15 pounds from last summer league.
He's up around like 205 now.
Yeah, and you can see it. Like, he looks bigger. He looks stronger. And Christie also said in this piece, and this was something you and I have talked about before, in the summer league where last year, which frankly he looked awful, he said he was quite sped up and he was really just kind of all nerves. And now with an NBA year under his belt, everything just felt under control for him. And you could see it out there. Like, I thought he looked great.
And it is really, I agree with you. It was a really strong early performance, and it's just like certain guys look like they're at a little bit of a different level because they have the experience. Some of it is age, again, like Jaquez, you would want to play well, not just first rounder, but older. Mm-hmm. That matters in summer league. But he's not older, so it was a really nice early performance, very much in command, clearly the best player on the floor for the Lakers. And so that was,
I would say, other than maybe Jaquez, best player on the floor.
Yeah. So other performances, once you get past Christie, that was really positive. I think the next guy everybody was looking at was Jalen Hood-Schifino. Box score didn't look good from a shooting standpoint, certainly better in the second half than the first, but still not great overall. Your early thoughts of Hood-Schifino?
I like that he got better as the game went along. He finished 6 of 19 from the field, but it was after, I believe, a 1 of 9 start. Mm-hmm. So again, he started picking up, and it felt to me like, we just talked about Christie, dealing with some nerves, first professional game. It felt to me like Hood-Schifino was actually getting to his spots, but the shots just weren't falling. I'm curious to see how he looks tonight and see if maybe some nerves are out of the way. You can tell he's strong. Like he had a really good weak side block. There was another possession where he muscled his way to the rim. The finish was wild. It was way off, but he was using that frame well, and he looked under control. Like I don't think he looked sped up. He may have been nervous, but he looked to me like he was actually getting to where he wanted to on the floor.
I agree. I mean, I think it is harder for young guards than it is for other players. He talked about this a little bit after the game. It's, finding the right pace, finding the right spacing. You're doing, Christie's got the ball out. These guys have been together for a solid 2 hours. I didn't see anything that makes me freak out. Like, oh gosh, what did the Lakers do? And I don't react to bad performances in summer league. Unless you're a second-year guy, in which case I do. But I think it's fine. You can see what the Lakers like in him. You can see. A couple of people pointed this out as well. Defensively, I think he struggled a little bit more than I thought. But again, you're at a different level. You're playing with different players. You're not quite sure where the help is coming from or what. You're not totally in practice. So it would have been better for Lakers fans sort of mentally if Hood-Schifino came out of the gate with just phenomenal performance. You feel better, but I thought it was fine. I thought it was.
You know what? It's interesting. I was reading this piece from Price, and he noted that second-year guys don't always end up playing the full slate. With that in mind, it wouldn't shock me if Christie didn't. And frankly, I think it'd be better for Hood-Schifino if Christie didn't play the last 2 or 3 games, because while Hood-Schifino obviously needs to learn how to play off the ball to get minutes on the big team, I think it will help him get more into his rhythm if he has the ball more. And with Christie out there, that's automatically going to put a cap on how much he'll have the ball. So
yeah,
it'd be helpful.
I thought the last thing that I thought was interesting was Cole Swider's box score, 3 of 9 overall, but all 3 of his makes were from 3-point range. Second-year player, with the Lakers in terms of the two ways. And the only thing that really matters with him is, can he hold up defensively and can he hit enough 3-pointers to crack an NBA roster? 3 of 6 from downtown. That's the part of the box score I'm always going to be looking at with him.
Yeah, he had a couple decent possessions defensively too. Castleton, I thought, made a couple really nice plays.
He picked up 6 fouls in like 15 minutes, but because he was trying to defend, I thought, everything. Like who was it that had the dunk? It was Jaquez who had the dunk.
Jaquez yammed on him, but he challenged it.
But he challenged it. That's like the poster only happens because somebody tries to challenge the play. And what I thought really stuck out with Castleton to me was his ball movement. Like he's very clearly a smart player. But I mentioned the age thing before, Andy. Would you agree? Like you would want him to look pretty good. He's, I think, 22 or 20. He's older than most of these guys.
Yeah, he had a nice dribble handoff sequence with Max Christie that led to Christie getting a bucket, but he was part of that 2-man action. And then I guess the last impression I had watching these guys, Maxwell Lewis had a play where he pumped faked from close to the top of the arc and got to the rim in like seemingly 2 steps. I was like, this dude's strides are
fluid.
long.
Very fluid.
Long.
And I'm correct. Castleton is 23. So you would expect him to play well and look sort of a level above, at least intellectually, on the floor. But Hood-Schifino, it's a bonus if he comes in. With the way the rotation is set now, it's a bonus if he comes in and gives you minutes with the regular team consistently. Maxwell Lewis would be an amazing bonus, or something's gone horribly wrong. Castleton, at least the way the roster is set up currently, you can look at it and say, like, there's an avenue where the Lakers might need him to play 10 or 15 games or whatever, the allotment is. And so for him, he looks a little bit like a guy who, he's going to be overmatched, but like he will get what you're trying to do. Mm-hmm. And I think from a coaching standpoint, that can be like he's going to go to the right spot on the floor. He's going to make the correct pass. And I think that can matter. I way too early, I think, in my mind to say like he can give you real minutes, but I think there's a blueprint there. Would you agree?
Possibly. I mean, it's not ideal unless he's just kicking ass. But it would be nice to know that you could perhaps put him on the floor and things don't just disastrously fall apart.
Right. It's just saying this is the first time I've really ever watched the guy play. So, I mean, it was like, oh, okay. It's just the mental game where he seems to see the floor and read it better than most rookies do. But again, he's 23 years old, so you would expect it. All right. So second game of the California Classic is tonight. We'll break a little bit more of that down for Thursday, but a reminder, don't freak out about any of these things in either direction. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go to see the show, hang out with pushing near 20,000 subscribers to the channel, and leave us questions, leave us comments. We want to use those for the show throughout the summer. We'll see everybody on Thursday.